YouTube, what's going on? A video today on a Chris Reeve knife. This is the small Inkosi with natural micarta inlays and the Insingo blade. These are pretty hard to get right now. They were available at Blade Show this year, and I think there was a small amount went out to dealers, but I haven't seen them for sale in a while. I picked one up off the secondary market because I love the Insingo blade shape. I've got two different Sebenzas with Insingo blades, and want to try out the Inkosi. I love the micarta inlays on this one. So this video is going to be about this knife, but it's also going to be about kind of what the differences are between the Inkosi and the Sebenza, specifically the Insingo in Sebenza and the Insingo Inkosi, and just kind of some of the differences. There's a few videos out there, but some of them have missed a few points that I want to point out. So let's talk about this knife really quick. It is it's a small knife. One thing I want to point out here first, though, is the packaging is so good on these new Sebenzas. I mean, it is so nice. Big upgrade. Love this little booklet. You get this folder that has your birth card and your warranty information. I mean, just so nice. Like, such a big improvement. The knife comes wrapped in the cloth, which is great. And you have your two things of grease here, which is great. And this is the old lanyard I took off. And you have all the tools. I mean, so you're paying a premium price for a Sebenza. I feel like this packaging has stepped it up quite a bit, and they have not changed the price on these. So here's in an old box from just the regular Inkosi that I have. So let's talk about this little guy, and we're gonna come over the. I'm not even gonna spend time on the specs because, you know, the small Inkosi's been out for some time. This is just a new variation with that Insingo blade shape. So let's do the comparison that I wanted to do. So here is a natural micarta Insingo. Inkosingo is what they're kind of calling it. That's kind of the Chris Reeve fan name for this blade shape. And there is the 21 Insingo. Right away you notice the larger belly on the new Inkosi Insingos. I really like that actually quite a bit. Nothing wrong. I love this blade shape. It's like one of my favorite for EDC. But it's nice to have a little bit more belly on the new one. So that is a pretty major change to the Insingo blade. Other than that, the differences are going to be more Sebenza versus Inkosi. Like the more pronounced hollow grind on the Sebenza versus the Inkosi. And that's pretty much the biggest differences between the blades. The stock is, I'd have to look at the exact specs, but from the naked eye looks to be the same. The divot here is on all the Inkosis. Let's do a side by side. This is just a plain small Inkosi drop point or clip point or whatever they call it. You can see that both of those have that. Not sure, you know, it's not what it was particularly used for. If someone knows what, you know, the design intent of that was, that'd be great. But so that's the big difference. Now, like I said, your other differences. The other thing I want to point out before I get into the Inkosi versus Sebenza is the inlays are different. I love the new. I mean, I like the inlays on all the Sebenza 21s, but I really like the inlays on the new Inkosis. The Inkosi has a different handle shape, obviously. That's one of the major differences. And I love how the inlays follow the lines of the knife better. I feel like they did so on the Sebenza, but I really like the inlays on these small Inkosis especially. I love how they follow the grooves of the handle. They just look, I think they look better. I love the choice of natural micarta also. The black micarta looks good, and there's the green canvas micarta. But I really like this natural. I think with the bead blast finish, just kind of really pops, and it just looks fantastic. Okay, so big differences between the Inkosi and the Sebenza. Obviously, we talked about the hollow grind being more pronounced on the Sebenza. The pivot. Oops, gosh, there is that. I'm seriously struggling with my freaking setup. I went back to my old setup because I was shaking the table too much. Then I just bumped the freaking, yeah. Need to find a better solution to mount the camera. But the big difference here in the pivot is not just how large the pivot is. That's an obvious difference. The reason why that is because this the Sebenza 21 uses a bushing. So it uses a smaller screw on both sides, and it has a bushing inside, which I really like. I love that about the Sebenzas, because you could unscrew this screw completely, and this knife's going to stay centered. It's crazy. Whereas the Inkosi uses a much larger pivot, and it has a traditional style pivot, as you would find on most pocket knives. All the ones I have out here are Sebenzas, so that's not going to help, but it's just a more traditional pivot. It does not have that bushing. That is a large difference. The lock interface is also different. There's a ceramic ball on the Inkosis versus the Sebenzas, so the lock interface is different, and you can tell. I feel like the lockup on the Inkosi is stronger, and neither of them are going to fail on you, I don't believe, but I feel like the Inkosi is more robust and strong as far as the lock's concerned. So your handles obviously have differences. I mean, the grooves on the fingers are more pronounced, obviously, on the new Inkosis. Look at it compared to, so you have the Sebenza, then you have a classic rare knife here, and you can see the big difference there too. Very differences in the handles. This one's from 2006, so it's a little bit old, but an awesome knife in its own right. So lots of differences in the handles, and this applies to large and smalls. Your washers, okay, the washers are larger on the Inkosi, and you can, without even taking the knife apart, you can see the Inkosi has a much larger washer. Look, you can actually see it right there on the knife. It comes up much higher. It's just a much larger washer, but they're not just larger. They are also indexed, and there's a cut in them, and it's for the stop pin, and it's used as an anchor. So the Inkosi has much more detail, or much more detailed washers. They're specific cutouts in them. They're larger. They're just a more robust design. Now, again, nothing wrong with Sebenza's washers. These are basically just evolutions of a knife. If you look at the Inkosi and the 21, these are, and Chris Reeve's been making knives. Chris Reeve Knives has been making knives for a long time, and this is just the evolution of this knife. And I really do like the Inkosi a lot, but I also really like the Sebenza 21. So those are some major differences on the washers. The lanyard attachment is also different. So this one has a, let's use a different example because that's got like some paracord. This one I've taken out the lanyard point here so it doesn't rattle. It does not affect the knife in any way, shape, or form to do that. Some people don't want to take it out and they hate the rattle. I'm like, just take it out. It doesn't. It's still a strong knife. Not gonna. This is the 21 crosshatch. It's not going to affect it in any way. The nice thing is about the Inkosi is if you don't like the lanyard, which I'm not a lanyard guy, and you take it off, guess what? It's just a standoff. That's just wrapped around the standoff. That's all it is. There's no difference. I've taken it off on this one and the small regular Inkosi, plain Jane, just a regular Inkosi, and you can see they have the exact same standoffs, whereas the 21s have the bushing there for the lanyard. This has just got some blue paracord, which is a good idea the previous owner did on this, so it wouldn't rattle. I like that about the Inkosi as well, because that way you don't have to, if you don't like the lanyard, you can just take it off really easily, not have to take the knife apart, cut it, whatever you want to do. On the Sebenza, you kind of have to take it apart unless you're going to cut that. If you don't want to cut the lanyard, you have to take it apart. You got to pull out this bushing here, and then you've got to put the knife back together, which isn't a big deal. And Chris Reeve encourages you to take your knives apart, but just another comparison of a big difference. They're not the same. Other than that, those are pretty much the major differences: the blade grind, the pivot, the washers, the handles, different contours, and the lanyard attachments. Those are kind of the main differences between the Inkosi and the Sebenza. And then on the Insingo, really the biggest difference is the blade grind is more pronounced, the hollow grind is more pronounced on the Sebenza, and the Inkosi Insingo has much more belly. So if you're choosing between an Inkosi Insingo and a Sebenza Insingo, I like the blade shape on the Inkosi better. It does have more belly, which is never a bad thing, but it still has that classic Inkosi blade shape. I believe there may be a difference on this wedge up here. No, they feel. I thought I heard someone mention that it felt sharper on the Sebenza. It's about the same. The tip is very similar. The grinds. Let's show them side by side here so you can see what I'm talking about. I don't see much difference there. Someone had mentioned that. I don't feel, you know, this is not sharpened, obviously, and it doesn't feel any different to me. Maybe from that angle, they look the same to me. So pretty much the main difference is the hollow grind and the more belly on the Inkosi. So there's some differences for you. The smoothness on this knife is amazing. It feels so good. It is a very small knife, and I was very nervous because I love the size of the small 21. I think it's about the perfect EDC size for me. I can get all my handle, you know, have a little bit of handle left, but not much. Always loved the small 21. The Insingo I felt like might be too small, but honestly, and it is a smaller blade or handle shape. That's another large difference between the Inkosi and the small Inkosi and the small Sebenza is the handle is longer on the 21. As you can see, if we go pivot to pivot, you can see the noticeable difference there. But for my hands, which I wear a size medium glove, I can get all 4 fingers still on that knife. Now, that's with putting the finger up here and resting it right here on the rounded spine. If I want to actually utilize the jimping, I do have to choke back on this knife, and it's barely, I'm kind of 3.5 fingers, almost 4, but still comfortable. So if that's a concern, there's the large. That's the beautiful thing about Chris Reeve, is that you have choices. If it's too small, get the large Sebenza, Inkosi, Insingo, which they also have. Also very hard to find at the moment. But the differences will be exactly the same. I do believe the Inkosi, and I don't have a large Inkosi and a large Sebenza at the moment to show you that difference, but I believe their handle lengths are almost identical. It's not like the large Inkosi is smaller. It's really not. It's about the same. I have a video on my channel that I'll link down below that shows the differences between the Sebenza 25 and the Inkosi, and those are all the same size handles. So there may be very, very minor difference, but nothing I think you're going to notice. So there's a video, guys, on the Chris Reeve small Inkosi with the Insingo blade, natural micarta inlays. Absolutely gorgeous knife. What am I up to? 7 Chris Reeve knives right now. All small 21s, minus the small classic, and 2 Inkosis. I should have brought them all out for the video, because why not? But I didn't. I'm missing a couple. The carbon fiber Insingo and the flag Sebenza that I just got recently. TNK exclusive. But can't go wrong with Chris Reeve. They are expensive, guys. This is not the knife for everyone's budget. But I tell you what, they are absolutely fantastic. They are robust. They have a lifetime warranty. This is a knife that will last. I mean, here's an example. 2006. Look at this. This this is the dog paw, which I love. I have 3 dogs right now, so I wanted to get the dog paw because I'm a big dog enthusiast. But this is a timeless classic knife, and there is some big differences here. The pocket clip's a big difference. Obviously the handle cutouts, the washers. There's a lot of, I won't do a video on that right now. There's probably some, because this is an old knife from 2006. But how many knives from 2006 are there from most major manufacturers that you're going to look back on and say that's still a freaking awesome knife? And look how well it's held up for that many years. And even if I did use this, I do use this, I carry this, but even if the previous user used it, you can send it in for a spa treatment and it's going to come back looking brand new. Dude, you cannot put a price on that. That's part of the money you're spending here, is you're getting that warranty and that level of service. And I don't think there's a company out there that does it as well as Chris Reeve as far as your warranty is concerned. Take that for a grain of salt. I'm a huge fan of the company, of their knives, but people, they're so overpriced. They're just titanium frame locks with, S35VN. They should be $200. You're wrong. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're expensive, yes. They're made in the USA. They are made with the incredible tolerances you do not find on other knives. I don't care what Blade Show says. There's a reason why Chris Reeve won the manufacturing award every year. Last couple years, Lion still don't buy it. Not even near the quality as Chris Reeve. Just don't buy that anymore. starting to wonder about those awards. That's another topic altogether. But the level of detail on these knives you're not going to find on any other company. The tolerances, they're just not there. And I've owned hundreds of knives, guys, and you're not going to find them unless you spend tons of money on a custom. And I've even had customs that don't even touch these. So there is a reason why they cost as much. There's very small margins on these knives, guys, but they are worth the money. If you buy one, and to me, it may not be to you, but to me, 100% worth the money. Lifelong knives. I could hand all these down to my children, my son, his son. You know, there's that heirloom quality that you're buying, and yeah, you're paying a pretty price for it, but guess what? It's worth it. They're going to last you forever, and you could use the heck out of it. Look at this Inkosi. Look at that titanium. It's been carried a ton. It's got tons of wear marks on it. It's been sharpened, used. You know what? If I wanted to, I could send that baby in to Chris Reeve, and it'd come back looking new. How many knives can you do that with? You can send your knife in for warranty service, but even ZT, who has a great warranties, they're not going to refinish the knife for you. They're just not. It's not part of the service. You get that. That's part of the price that people need to understand. You're also paying for those tolerances and the level of quality. Again, how many knives can you remove the pivot screw and have it go on off center? Most knives these days, you can, you know, if you don't Loctite the pivot, even that on the Inkosis, I haven't had to Loctite this pivot. It does use a different type of pivot than the Sebenza, which is more traditional, and some guys have had to Loctite there. I have never had. I mean, that thing's super smooth. It's centered. It's been used quite a bit. This one I've never had to do it with. You know, and I can't count how many knives I've gotten from other manufacturers that have centering issues, that have pivots where they'll constantly spin, or they'll, you know, I'm just ranting here on Chris Reeve, but well worth the money, guys. If you haven't bought one and you can afford it, do it. If you know, if you want a large or a small, you got to kind of figure that out. If you want an inlay, there's tons and tons of options out there. Different inlays, different graphics, so many options. If collectability is through the roof on Chris Reeve knives, I mean, I have 7. That's a small amount compared to a lot of guys. So just take that for a grain of salt. I hope you enjoyed the video, and the differences between the knives, and the new Insingo blade shape for the Inkosi is amazing. Really like that extra belly they added. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.